Hey, what's up you guys? Articulation here, back here with another video review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends No Way Home Wave 2 Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Taking out the packaging over here is pretty much the exact same thing that we've seen with the previous two Spider-Man No Way Home figures that I've reviewed. It does come in the retro packaging over here that we did see in those comic retro figures. So it's basically got the cardboard slide and then a window box right in the front. I'm not the biggest fan of this packaging, although here the art looks pretty good. I just don't think, like, retro cards I feel like should stick with the retro figures, not so much the newer movies nowadays. But, you know, as I've said in previous videos, if it's to help the environment, whatever it is, so be it. I'm really in it more so for the figure, but I'm also someone who likes to keep their packaging. And the best way that I've found to take your figure out of the box, if you want to keep this packaging in good condition, because I know this one in particular is very hard to get the figure out of. You want to slip at the bottom over here and then sort of like cut up. And then, yeah, it does leave a little bit of damage in there, but that's the best way I found it without destroying these boxes. But anyway, as the other boxes did have, you do have all the three Spider-Man up here. It's got the gold highlights going around from the integrated suit look. Marvel Legends, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Spider-Man No Way Home. On the back over here has that same sort of art going on along with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man with a little bit of a bio for our Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Marvel Legends at the top, and then you do see the gold highlights going on as well too. UPC code over there, and then there's just a bunch of warnings over here. So that's about it for the packaging. It is just a cardboard slab. So let's get into this figure. Taking a look at Spider-Man over here, I really can't tell you how happy I am that we finally got Tobey Maguire Spider-Man back in action figure form, especially in this day and age where action figures are so much better than they were back then. Now, for me, since the No Way Home movie, this Raimi suit of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man has been my favorite costume in anything related to Spider-Man, just because it's the Spider-Man that I grew up on, and also, like, the suit itself is just a work of art. The silver web lining, I know in the comics, you know, Spider-Man mainly refers to the black webbing. The silver lining just absolutely, like, adds to the figure and makes it look very pristine. Sure, it's not the most realistic approach to Spider-Man because, you know, I don't think someone who has, like, no resources to create his suit would create such a work of art like this. I think it would be more along the lines of, you know, the current No Way Home Final Swing Spidey suit. I think that's more realistic. But this one here has been my favorite costume ever since that one was revealed, the Final Swing suit. The Final Swing suit is my favorite. This one here used to be my favorite. Now it's my second favorite. But I absolutely love this suit. This suit brings so many memories from those three Raimi films that originally came out so long ago. You know, just Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was such a massive impact on, you know, superheroes in movies and just superheroes in media altogether. Now this costume looks great. It turned out really good in Marvel Legends form. I do have a few gripes with this one, and I'll spoil you right now. I feel like out of the three Spider-Man in this wave, this is the weakest of the bunch. But with that said, there's a lot of good redeeming qualities on this, and we'll get into that in a bit. Now, just to go over accessories real quick, he does come with an extra unmasked head of Tobey Maguire, and this looks pretty good, as well as two whipping hands. The Tobey Maguire head sculpt looks pretty good. You know, I don't really have much to say about it. I do feel like it might be the weakest of the three as well, but that's also because Tobey Maguire is a pretty difficult person to get their likeness of. But for the most part, I think it turned out pretty good. And as I said, he does come with two whipping hands. Of course, on this figure, same as the Amazing Spider-Man figure, we are missing out on the extra third pair of hands. This figure comes with two whipping hands along with one fisted hand for the right hand and then one open hand on the left hand. Now, to get into this figure a little bit here, right off the top, I will say that overall, I'm a big fan of it, as I said, though it is the weakest of the bunch. But this head sculpt here, for the most part, it looks pretty good. It's just that I don't think it's entirely accurate. And it kind of goes both ways in this, because I think it is accurate to the No Way Home Spider-Man, which would make sense. And, you know, it is the No Way Home Spider-Man, because I think that they changed the mask a little bit in the film. What you can kind of notice here is that the eyes kind of look more sunken in, you know, less prominent. And then also the nose, the way how it's shaped over here. The nose doesn't entirely, it doesn't look as strong of a head, if that makes any sense. And it although it does match, I don't think it makes it look like it's a like a strong Spider-Man per se. And that's really weird in how I'm trying to describe it here, but it's not as like sharp. I don't know if you're noticing it at all, but it looks like more like his face is kind of squashed in rather than just being normal. I hopefully that makes sense to you guys, but that's something I'm noticing with this figure over here. The web lining in itself, though, it does look good for the most part. It's only really a highlight, and I think the reason why is because it's just like a dry brush over top. So a lot of the silver web paint is not the greatest on this figure. I have seen it, just to bring up this like old figure over here. This is the one that I was using in my collection previous, and you can see, wow, that's a stark the stark difference in the coloring and all. Even that spider symbol over there too is really cool. But this was from the first Spider-Man movie. It was part of the I think it was the Toy Biz line. But you can just see like the way how they painted the web lining on here. This looks great. It looks just fine. But then on here, like you see, it has the highlights in there. But when you look at the webs, like you don't actually see them. It's really just it's super weird. I don't know what kind of paint they used with that. But it doesn't bother me too much. I just think that it's something making a note of. Yeah, it's super strange, but sculpting otherwise looks pretty good. I will say though here, once again, kind of going in with, I don't know if it's because Tobey Maguire has aged a little bit, and this is supposed to be accurate to the No Way Home movie. He does look a little bit lanky here. The original Spider-Man that I'm more accustomed to in the Raimi trilogy was he was more muscular, and just here it looks like his stomach's kind of like more pudgy. Just the way, like the difference between the torso and then the lower area over here, just that when it goes into the legs, I don't know, there's just the sort of proportions are kind of throwing me off a little bit here. And although it may be accurate to the film, which it's entirely to its right, I completely understand that. It doesn't look the greatest in action figure form, but it's really up to you if you prefer something that's more realistic or something that's more, I guess, comic booky, if you want to call it. But you can totally see the difference here. Like, yeah, the torso seems much smaller to the hip area over here. So arms over here, they'll look okay. I don't really have anything bad to say about them. Same thing with the other figures. They are not showing the joints anymore. So as you can see, the joints are not apparent. The open hand here looks pretty good. You have all the webbing in there. That looks pretty good on the hand, at least. The Spider-Man symbol here looks pretty good. It's just a gunmetal gray. It's pretty nice. And then the symbol back here, too, looks pretty good. And the other arm here looks pretty good as well, too. And then the legs, not really much going on except for a lot of blue. And I just want to say, too, throughout the entire figure over here, you can notice this texture in here. And I know a lot of people were spreading a little bit of criticism to the red areas. Apparently, it's not accurate. I think it looks okay for what it is. It's not really too noticeable in person, but I can understand seeing it online. But yeah, then the blue parts over here, I think are accurate because they kind of got that honeycomb sort of look going on, which is great. And then once again, no pegs at the bottom over here. And then the feet look pretty good as well, too. With their web lining going around. So yeah, and then 2 pegals at the bottom of the feet. As for articulation, it's pretty typical standard stuff that we've seen with the Marvel Legends figures. Going hand in hand with the previous Final Swingsuit Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man, his head can go up pretty good, like that. It can go down, move side to side. There's a bit of pivot in there as well. Some really nice pivot on this one, actually. I actually really like that. He's got an arm joint, goes up about there. It can go forward, back. Bit of a butterfly joint there, which allows him to move it in and out. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which move in about that far. Wrist articulation, which is a swivel, hinge up and down, and also a diaphragm joint over here, which allows you to move very freely. I will say with this one, though, in comparison to other diaphragm joints I've seen on the other 2 Spider-Man figures, this one seems a little bit more gappy than usual. So just know that you're probably going to be breaking up the sculpt a little bit, especially on the back over here. The way how that's shaped, that looks a little bit off. But you can see there's a huge hole right there. So be mindful of that. You do have a lower ab crunch, if you want to call it a hip crunch. You can go in about there, and it can go back at about there, which is pretty damn good. That's actually really good. And then also some hip articulation in here. I'm pretty sure if you play around with it, I'm sure that you could get a drop down hip, but it's like in the slightest. It's like the same thing to the Amazing Spider-Man one. It's only really when you start moving the leg, but it can go out about there, and you want to be careful with it as well. You can kick forward like that, and then you can kind of go off into the side right there. And I do want to mention here is that I'm noticing there's a little bit of gash marks on the figure already with this. You can see it very slightly there. Yeah, you can see it right there and a little bit right there. So just be mindful when you're moving the hips. You are going to damage your figure a little bit, so don't move it too much. But anyway, to get back to it, you do have a thigh swivel in here, double jointed knees, which move in about that far, and then some ankle articulation, which is down, up, and pivots, which that's a weird pivot. It kind of moves in like that. But yeah, pretty good articulation on this. Pretty standard stuff. I'm a fan. As always, when it comes with these figures, I've mentioned it in the last two that I reviewed, you do want to warm up these joints. The type of plastic that Hasbro is using is a little bit, or at least it feels a little bit weaker than typical Marvel Legends. So just with these figures in particular, make sure you warm up with a hair dryer or like a blow dryer or whatever, and then you can get to your posing. For my comparison today, I have the 3 Spider-Man all together. Here we have the Amazing Spider-Man, the Final Swingsuit Spider-Man, and the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And as you can see, height difference between these guys are pretty good. Tom Holland is the shortest, just by the slightest. Tobey Maguire is a little bit taller, and then Andrew Garfield is the tallest. So pretty good on that scaling over there. I also wanted to compare it to this old Toy Biz figure that I had. This one was in the days where action figures really did not have much visibility, and they were more like statues than anything. But just to see comparison there, I don't know. I think we've come a long way. And if you want to compare this figure to the figures you have at home, you can see over here that this Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man does stand at about 5 3/4 inches tall. So final thoughts on this Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man from the Spider-Man No Way Home film. I gotta say, I'm a fan of it. I do think that it's still a pretty good figure. Very much has that Marvel Legends quality to it. With saying that, I do mean that it matches in a lot with the other Marvel Legends figures, because just as I'm sure most of you are as well, I'm one of those people who likes to collect the Marvel Legends line and likes to collect one of each character, and I think this is a pretty good version for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I do think there are some things that they could have done a little bit better. They could have worked a little bit more with those proportions. Maybe work in the articulation a little bit more, because some of that the joints with the gapping issues kind of brings the figure down for me a little bit. But overall, I will say the silhouette of the figure, although it matches the No Way Home version of this character, I do think it could have been a little bit better. They kind of could play. They kind of could have played in a little bit more with those original Raimi films. But yeah, it looks great next to the other 2 Spider-Man, and I think this one at least works very well for this era of Marvel films. But yeah, I will say, I know there's a lot of people out there who already have several older Tobey Maguire Spider-Man figures, and to that I will say, if you do have one that you already really like and you already have that's in your collection, you don't really need to pick this figure up. Let's be honest here. Although I really like the previous 2 figures, I do think that this one is lacking a little bit in the quality. I really think it's those proportions, because even the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, it wasn't exactly accurate to how Andrew Garfield showed up in the film. It was more muscular though, and so I think it matched better in action figure form than this one does here, because I don't know, it's just, you can go with the realistic forms, but at least for me, when I see Spider-Man, it's a work of art. And especially this costume as well. This costume has to be the most cinematic of the 3, for me at least. Articulation is great, although it does, sort of damage the figure a little bit when you're playing around that hip area. And you know, the accessories, just like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, I think we could have used the other, you know, 2 extra hands that we got in that 3-pack, but it's not the biggest deal to me. I still think the figure is great as is, and the unmasked head is definitely an added plus. For me, I picked up this figure because I was really looking for getting a new sort of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, one that, you know, kind of it's kind of better than you know, this older figure over here, because this is the one I had originally for my collection, and I think this one is 10 times better than that. But I know there are ones that kind of stand up to this one. So with that, I will say, you know, if you have those original Spider-Man figures, this is not a pickup. But if you are looking to get a new Tobey Maguire figure in your collection, I would say this is a pickup. So really up to you. You can pass on this one if you like, but personally, I'm happy to have this one in my collection, and I think he goes really well with the rest of my Spider-Man and, you know, MCU figures. With that said, you guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is this your favorite Spider-Man character, or like the version? Do you love Tobey Maguire? Who's your favorite actor that plays Spider-Man? What's your favorite Spider-Man costume? For me, this is my second favorite. The first one is the final swimsuit Spider-Man. But as every YouTuber begs you to do, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.